Dinesh D'Souza did a good job of explaining this in a way that a lot of other people have not. And he said, my biggest problem with what's going on with Tucker and Candace is that they will claim to have shown the receipts, but they won't actually engage with anybody that are really versed in these topics. They're not going to get into debate. Candace Owens is not going to debate Ben Shapiro. Candace Owens is not going to debate Dinesh D'Souza. And at this point, neither will Tucker. Tucker is a little bit better about it. You saw him on with Mike Huckabee, but he didn't do well in that interview, in part because when Ted Cruz showed up with Tucker, Ted Cruz, I think, was showing up with someone that he thought was a friend. And then Tucker just turned it on him. Well, when Mike Huckabee showed up, Mike Huckabee knew what he was going into. He was prepared for it. And Tucker ended up looking unprepared on his own show. And which is why I don't think Tucker is probably going to be engaging much with people that disagree with him on these topics. Because the bottom line is there's a very, very thin intellectual veneer covering up something else. And one of the things Dinesh D'Souza pointed out was as much as they like to tell you over and over, we've brought the receipts, we've brought the receipts, we've brought the receipts. When you actually look at the receipts they've brought, they're not very good. They either don't prove what they claim, or they're easily refuted, or it's one of those things where it doesn't logically follow, which is to say that they might bring up an interesting fact, or when they bring up something with maybe the Talmud, they might say, yeah, I totally disagree with that. But that doesn't mean what you're saying over here about all of the Jewish people. It doesn't mean what you're saying over here about the state of Israel. It doesn't mean that over here. This can be bad, and it can be bad in isolation, or it can be bad connected to other things, but this doesn't lead to it. And what Dinesh points out after that is, I just want an explanation. Like, I want a good, no kidding, sit down explanation. I don't want him to bring out a bunch of guests. I don't want him to talk about how Charlie Kirk came to him in a dream. I want him to actually engage with people that disagree with him, that are intelligent and knowledgeable. And I want them to have to go through and articulate why all of a sudden they're questioning not just Donald Trump, not just Israel. Why are they questioning like certain core fundamental things about Western civilization? Why are they questioning fundamental things about Christianity? Why are they saying things that are objectively false? When Tucker Carlson says, there's more Christians in Qatar than there is in Israel. Okay, that's technically true. Qatar has about 400,000 Christians, and Israel has about 180,000 Christians. The difference is that if you're a Christian in Israel, you're allowed to freely exercise your faith. You can set up a church, you can preach, you can evangelize, you can do all those things. If you do those things in Qatar, outside of a very, very narrow enclave where their guest workers live, you can be arrested for violation of law. And by the way, the 400,000 Christians are not Qatari citizens. The 180,000 Christians in Israel are largely Israeli citizens. Like that, these are, when you point something out like this, so if I just give you the fact, 400,000 Christians in Qatar, a lot more than in Israel, you're like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. But then if you go into, okay, but here are all the other conditions, here are all the other relevant facts, the vast majority of people go, oh, well, that's apples and oranges. Yes. And yet Tucker treats it like it's not. Is it because Tucker's stupid and low IQ? No, Tucker's not stupid. He's not low IQ. So he must be doing it deliberately. When it comes to questioning Winston Churchill, and he brings on these historians that are easily refuted by people with again, that are not just saying, trust me, bro, I've got a PhD. They're saying, no, here's the papers, here's what he said, here's the timeline, here's what took place, here's why what Hitler said was inaccurate, here's why what Winston Churchill said was accurate. Why does Tucker just say, no, I'm only going to listen to this narrow field of knowledge and information, and now I'm going to completely rethink what I think about one of the most important conservatives in the 20th century? Why? What's the motivation for this? What broke your faith in everything, not just institutions that deserve to be questioned? What broke your faith in everything? And Dinesh D'Souza was pointing out, we've never gotten this explanation from Tucker. There'll be some sort of bizarre statement followed up by a strange laugh, and that's it. We're supposed to accept it.